Everyone, Austin here. Just a quick note up top that we had some really bad technical problems when we were recording this episode, mostly my fault. My computer has sadly reached the end of its life and chose our recording session as the perfect time to enter its final moments. That said, we've been working to try to improve audio quality overall, and this episode was a bit of a setback. Anyway, I had to switch computers midway through, and I don't think it was actually picking up my mic, so unfortunately my audio quality drops significantly about 20 minutes in and stays that way for the rest of the episode. It's by no means terrible, it's definitely fine to listen to, but I did just want to give a quick heads up, and I'll make sure that these issues are fixed by next week's episode. Now on to Anastasia. Hope you enjoy.
Everybody, and welcome to another episode of I Hate Your Taste in Movies. You can find us on Twitter at I Hate Your Taste and on Instagram at Hate Your Taste Pod. I'm Jackie.
I'm Jen.
I'm Austin.
And this is the podcast where we force movies upon our friends and risk our friendship in the process, i.e. today. But we're doing an Austin pick, and I think we're going to be surprised at the reactions today. So what is it, Austin? Why don't you tell us about it?
So today we are talking about 1997's Anastasia. It's a fun movie. It's a not exactly historically accurate depiction of Anastasia Romanov and the Romanov family, but you know, it works. So Jackie, I know that you like this movie. So tell me a little bit about your history with it.
Why, I would love to, Austin, because I love this movie. Love. Obsessed. I don't know why. I don't know anything about how I came to see this movie. I don't remember the first time. I don't remember the context. But I meant to text my sisters to see if they even remember this movie or if it was just me who enjoyed it. But I saw it somehow, and the songs are great. The story is very digestible for a child. It's really nice and, so cute. The main, romantic storyline is my jam. And I think I've only seen it maybe 3 or 4 times, but I, have the soundtrack. And I sing the songs a lot. It's the first Austin pick where I've been I am 100% on board with this.
I feel like I have a similar history in that I can't really remember when I saw it for the first time and probably only seen it a handful of times. I just think it's not talked about enough. I feel like it's kind of underrated. People that love it, but I feel like people tend to forget about it. So we're bringing it to the forefront. So Jen, you hadn't seen this movie.
No, I had heard of it, and I've heard of it kind of like you were saying, Austin, where it's kind of an underrated one, and people who saw it really liked it will be like, oh, this was not a Disney movie, that's why people didn't love it, but it's so good. But I never saw it growing up. I never really cared to watch it. I'm sure it was, I was always I'm sure it's fine. I'm just never going to watch this. So this was completely new to me.
Did you come up with a little summary guess?
I did. So I realized that I obviously know what the subject matter is, but I actually didn't have any idea what the plot of this movie was going to be.
Yes.
So my guess was Anastasia Romanoff somehow escapes the assassination attempt. Actually, it's more of an execution than an assassination, but we'll forgive myself. And flees Russia and is now living somewhere in Europe, ? Meets a boy and falls in love, but he doesn't know she's a secret princess. And then this is where I don't really know what's going to happen, and I put they ... flee more, live in hiding, tried to take back the throne. I genuinely don't know.
That would be amazing if this is actually a war epic where they lead an army to retake the Romanov throne.
Sign me the fuck up. But yeah, I legit was beyond her being a secret princess and them falling in love, I could not figure out what they do with that information.
I mean, you kind of nailed it, because it turns out they don't do much with that information.
Turns out nothing. She's just I'm a secret princess, and he's cool, I love you. And they're all right.
I'm going to continue to be a secret princess.
Yeah. They live
Spoiler alert.
Ever after.
Yeah, exactly.
I love a happily ever after, you guys. You know I love a nice old bow tied on the top of a movie where it's just and nothing else happened forever. The end.
I do have some questions about that, but I'm sure we'll get to it.
We'll get to it. Yeah, I guess just as a general, more specific summary, those are words that go together well.
As a general, yet more specific. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, right? But yes, so Jen, you were right. It is the story of Anastasia, who escaped the killings of her entire family, I don't know, at the hands of Rasputin, which is not historically accurate, but, we digress. She doesn't remember anything about her life before, but she has a necklace that was left to her by her grandmother, and it's kind of her only hint to her past. She leaves an orphanage when she's 18 and sets out to try to figure out who she is, figure out what her backstory is. She meets Dmitri and Vlad, and they're these two kind of con artists that are doing auditions to try to find the Princess Anastasia. There's rumors that she survived, so they're trying to hold auditions to bring her to the Dowager Empress Marie, I believe her name is. Try to get the reward money, basically. But things go askew when they realize that this actually is Anastasia. And so she rekindles her relationship with her grandmother and falls in love with cartoon John Cusack and with Dmitri, and they live happily ever after.
Yay, the end.
Yeah, that's more.
Little
and
bow.
Rasputin dies again.
He's trying to kill her the whole time.
Yeah,
but,
he's been in limbo. I kind of forget about the Rasputin storyline, to be totally honest.
Yeah, he's super incompetent for some supernaturally powered evil genius.
Yeah, essentially there was like the Romanov curse, and he traded his soul, or he sold his soul for powers, I guess, to kill them all, but because Anastasia didn't die definitively, he's been in limbo this whole time, and so he wants her dead so he can get out of limbo.
What I saw this time, I just wanted to mention really quickly, I never understood why she just didn't remember who she was.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a point of conversation.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
We'll get to it.
You also, Austin, in that summary, cleared up some of the villain's motives for me that I did not pick up on. So.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Hopefully I was right. It's possible I also had it wrong.
That's what I think is happening.
Okay. I didn't get that he was stuck in limbo because she was still alive, and I was like, I don't know why he's so fixated on her.
Well, I kind of don't understand, what does he get if she dies? Does he become alive again?
Yeah, I'm not sure if he becomes more
limbo?
Powerful or if he just dies.
And also, why does that curse apply to Anastasia and not the grandmother who escaped?
I think it was supposed to be Nikolai, who he was really mad at, and his descendants. Because Nikolai was the one... it's just like the end of the line, right? He just wants to kill Nicholas's family. That's who he hates. He doesn't really care about, the aunts and uncles and grand dowager duchesses.
I guess. I had some issues with his motives in this film, but that's fine.
I always just thought that because he confronted Nikolai, he was the target of his psycho rage.
Yeah, and I guess that also gets into the real story of the Romanovs too, but I'm like, if you're targeting him, why do you have to kill all of his children? But...
yeah. He just hates him that much. He's like a bad dude, you guys. He's like a bad dude.
Which, I guess we're now, into the movie, but I will just say, at the beginning when Rasputin comes in, I started dying laughing, and I was like, oh, look at this. They turned him into, a cartoon villain. Because I hadn't realized yet he actually was the villain.
Oh.
And then I was like, oh, okay. Yes, I get this now. But I just was like, what a depiction. This is hilarious.
So, to be totally honest, I don't know a lot about Rasputin.
I was about to say the exact same thing.
Yeah, I know a little bit about the Romanov history, but yeah, I don't actually know too much about the real Rasputin, other than the slapping song.
Yeah, so I do want to get this out of the way first. You guys sometimes make fun of me when I mispronounce things. I'm going to struggle with Rasputin many times, because I never saw this movie, but I grew up on that song where they pronounce it Rasputin, so I thought his name was Rasputin for 20 years. And then I was like,
so fun.
Rasputin. Well then.
That changes everything.
If I, stumble over his name or pause before say it, it's because I'm actively thinking.
If you mispronounce it, Jackie will point it out to you.
Definitely. And if you even hesitate and pause, I'll preemptively make fun of you.
All right, that's fine. I can give a brief rundown. I'm not a Russian history expert by any means. I just, you kind of mentioned, I know the Romanov story because it's really interesting. And Rasputin's kind of character, obviously he's not to the character of this film, but he is sort of involved with their family. But basically, he was I don't even know what kind of term we would use. They call him a mystic a lot, but he's almost just like a religious advisor, I guess he officially was to the royal family. He was kind of like a faith healer in St. Petersburg, and he kind of got a bit of a following. He's introduced to the Tsar and the Tsar's wife, who I think is called the Tsarina.
It sounds right.
Is that correct?
I think I've
okay,
heard that.
good. Just making sure. And she was really into him because their son, their only son, who's the heir, has hemophilia. So he's ill a lot throughout his childhood, and Rasputin kind of works as a healer. Records say that he actually did kind of like help. So I don't know how he did that, because he's clearly not actually a faith healer, but whatever. Maybe it's just his general presence, or he picked up some sort of medical knowledge in his time, in his day. But he was a part of the family's entourage, and he was really liked by the Tsarina, which is why the song says that he's the lover of the Russian queen. There was a lot of rumors that they were having an affair, and then a lot of people in Russia didn't care for him. They didn't care for the Tsar. They were kind of just anti-monarchy, and they thought he was kind of manipulating them. And so then he was murdered. And then a part of his myth is that they tried to kill him a couple times and didn't take.
Right. Okay.
So that's kind of also why he became a larger-than-life figure. Like, A, it's that he was kind of like the mystic faith healer type, and then B, that he was like a nobody. He was like a poor guy who got all this influence in the ear of the queen kind of deal,
right.
And then he couldn't be killed, quote-unquote. So that's kind of why he's become this magical figure, and then why they made him the villain in this movie, I guess.
Yeah, they took some liberties with the
For
portrayal of Rasputin.
I do have to ask, I don't know if you know this, Austin, but why did they decide necessarily the Russian Revolution was a good topic for a children's movie? Because I kind of wrote that down when this was happening, and I was like, why did they think the murder of the Romanovs was, like, fun?
Yeah.
And then it kind of reminded me, I think around the same time, like, the Disney movie of, like, Hunchback of Notre Dame came out, and I'm like, who picked up a Victor Hugo novel and turned that into a kid's movie? So just, like, what were they smoking in the 90s?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what drew them to this, but I think they found the idea of this, well, just, like, the idea of Anastasia, like, the legend that, you know, does still exist to this day, more or less, you know, it's pretty much been disproven, but, like, the idea that she may have survived and no one knows, I think they just kind of found that fantastical and drew on that more than the actual facts.
I think they were like, what is, like, in the pre-internet days, they're trying to Google, like, a princess who's not a Disney princess.
Yes.
And Anastasia came up because they needed a princess, but it can't be one of the ones that Disney owns. So they're like, she's one. That's cool. Let's do this one.
Yeah, well, that kind of leads me into one of the first things that I wanted to talk about, which is just to sort of set the stage for it before we really dive into the movie, if that's cool. Because I feel like people do forget that it's not a Disney movie. I mean, I guess technically it would be now. It's on Disney+. Is Anastasia officially a Disney princess, guys?
Well, they bought Fox, right?
Yeah. So this is 20th Century Fox from their animation studios. This is, I think this may have been the first movie from their animation studio. But the directors were Don Bluth and Gary Goldman, who were both top-tier Disney animators. And then in the 70s, there was a rumor, like, Disney films were kind of shitting the bed. The movies were not particularly good around this time. And so there was rumors that the production would be shut down indefinitely. And so Bluth led a walkout, and this helped form their own independent animation firm. And then with this firm, they did The Secret of Nim, An American Tale, and also...
Bible Goes West!
Yeah,
sorry.
And also Land Before Time is another Don Bluth movie. So he's like top of his game. He's, you know, good guy. And then the 90s came along, or the late 80s, early 90s came along, and Disney had what's known as their the Disney Renaissance, which started with The Little Mermaid and then Beauty and the Beast and all that. And so Disney started really outperforming all of these more independent films that Don Bluth was working on. And so he fell into a bit of a streak of flops. And then until 20th Century Fox came along, and that's what happened with Anastasia. And this definitely put Disney on notice a little bit, that they weren't the only ones in the animation game. We'll get into it with trivia, but this movie was nominated for more Oscars than the Disney movie of the time, which was Hercules. So that was kind of interesting. So it was a little bit of a rivalry between Disney and 20th Century Fox. So I just wanted to set the stage with that.
Disney responded to this threat by just buying every studio, and now they own everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
Terrifying.
That's very true.
And the other thing I wanted to say really quickly, too, is about Rasputin, if that's the correct pronunciation.
Yes, I believe that is.
Rasputin. I think some people have hypothesized that Nikolai, or the little guy, the guy who had hemophilia, had a milder form of hemophilia, and even though the whole family had it, depending on what clotting factor is affected genetically, they're variable in the way it presents. So he could have been sick, and Rasputin just happened to be there, and he got better and didn't die. Like, something that would have killed one of his sisters didn't kill him. So they're like, oh, it must be him. But it was actually just because there's like 3 or 4 different types of hemophilia.
Yeah, like I said, I definitely don't think he actually had mystical powers. Like, I'm just going to put that on the record. I do not think he was a magic man.
Hot take.
Okay, good. Yep.
But yeah, clearly there was something that they didn't quite understand at that point in time medically that he was able to do, even if it was just happening to be in the room while the child recovered anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And he's just like, I am going to milk this. I think he was a bad dude. He was a con man. And this lonely Sarina was obsessed with him. But apparently, what I read very little about, but that he was friends with all the family, the kids. He visited them, and they wrote letters to him when they were in exile, and like, he was a family friend.
Okay, so he was a lot more involved than I actually thought he was.
Yeah, but also, like, there was people in the court who didn't like him. They spread rumors about him. He got kicked out. He came back. So it's every royal court you could ever imagine. There's all this intrigue and backstabbing and infighting. Who has the queen's ear? Who's telling her what to do? Love it. P.S. I'm obsessed with that kind of stuff. But this one just ends so sadly. It's not the greatest story.
Yeah, that's true. Also, I just remembered another fact about Rasputin, if we're just going to continue to make it worse and worse.
Just do it. Just get into it.
That's another reason why people kind of think he was, like, mystical or whatever. Was, like, apparently he wrote something that said, like, if the royal family are responsible for my death, they will all be killed. And then he was killed 2 years before the family was killed, kind of deal. So people are like, ooh, he made it happen. And I'm like...
So there is a Romanov curse.
I don't think that there is a Romanov curse. I think that is a reach.
There is.
But
so there definitively is a Romanov curse. We've proven it.
This movie is much more historically accurate than we initially thought.
Sure, let's go with that.
He had a magic reliquary.
And his talking bats.
Okay,
hey! Good. So this movie starts off friggin' depressing.
Dark. It's like,
super dark.
Let's show this super happy rich family, and then in the next 3 minutes murder them all.
Yeah.
It's dark.
I'm at least glad that they didn't put, like, all the Romanov children in the scene. You know, I think, like...
Yeah.
Because she had, what, like 4 or 5 sisters? Like, that's too much child death for an animated movie. You know? I think they did show a little brother, it looked like. But,
yeah,
they showed the sisters, but they were in the background kind of deal.
Yeah, because I also, at that opening kind of ball, I was like, is Anastasia the only sibling? Like, where are they? But it is because the sisters are just, like, around, and you can't really tell that it's supposed to be the family, and you see, like, the little brother. And then I think it's later in the film, she's looking at, like, family photos.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're just glossing over the fact that they were all murdered.
They showed the portraits in the Great Hall. You could see the whole family. But yeah, they're like, too much child death. We'll get the idea.
They distinctly never said that they're murdered.
Yeah, exactly.
They leave it very much like, hey, kids watching this movie, they're just gone. Maybe they're in another country. Maybe they took a boat elsewhere. Like, we're not going to dive too deep in what is actually happening.
Yeah,
which I appreciate.
Yeah. When she's with her grandmother at the end, like, spoilers, and they're looking at family photos, and she's like, oh, I miss them so much. I remember them. And I'm like, they were brutally murdered, and just no one is even acknowledging that. She's just like, sure miss my sisters.
And like, yet I'm still really happy. Like, oh, we had so much fun when they were alive.
Yeah, it's like, I have these fond childhood memories that just came back to me all of a sudden. And it's like, yeah, they got shot to death. Like...
Well, what's even creepier is that they were, like, under house arrest
for months.
Yeah. Like, and they knew they were going to probably get executed as the armies approached. So, like, it was so awful. It wasn't even just oh, they're shot. It was like, oh, they were like psychologically tortured for a few months, then shot.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
but in the movie that we're talking about,
Right.
Right, that
They-
didn't happen.
the great, ball was interrupted by Rasputin, and it's chaos. Anastasia and her grandmother get separated from the rest of the family. We see that Anastasia has like a jewelry box, or she thinks it's a jewelry box. It's actually a music box that her grandmother has given to her, and the key is her necklace, and that's like the only thing that she's been able to keep. But the music box is left behind in the palace, and so they're like trying to escape, and this young boy opens a door in the wall and rescues them. Yes?
Little cute, brave little servant boy who just loves his royal family slave drivers so much.
Yeah, I was like a indentured servitude kind of situation. Like, why is child labor happening in this palace?
Yeah.
But no, we gloss over that too.
I'm pretty sure that those servants would have totally been like, yeah, let's revolt. I want some gold. I don't want to be serving. I want to take this candelabra. Peace out. So I think that the idea of them being rescued by a noble servant is maybe also historically inaccurate.
But
Maybe
maybe
he,
that's
like-
why it had to be a child who maybe
Yeah.
didn't understand the broader implications of what was happening, because like an adult would be like, guess what? Team Bolsheviks, like, let's
Yeah.
do this.
Well,
In
it had
my
to be a
mind-
child for love.
Right,
Yeah.
also for love.
In my mind, they were like friends. Dimitri, little baby Dimitri, spoiler alert, and little baby Anastasia. I don't know, maybe they like played together or some shit.
I think that he like knew who she was, but I don't think she
Yeah.
Yeah.
had concept of other people.
I
other
mean,
than her
that's
family.
most likely the case, but I just like to have that.
Yeah, maybe
Okay,
they,
we'll give you
like-
that.
Maybe she was like allowed to play with the servants and everyone thought it was quaint and cute.
We're rewriting history too. But yeah, he saves them, which is like very noble, and he's like sacrifices himself.
Yeah.
He closes the door and like tries to fight off some Bolsheviks. Gets his ass kicked because he's 10. But it's nice. Like, it sets him up as a good dude right off the bat, which I need to know. Who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? It's got to be very clear. I need to know.
Was
So
it
thank
clear
you.
enough that Rasputin was a bad guy in this movie?
Could it have been
I mean-
clearer?
He was tinged green the entire movie.
He's
His teeth were the size of like every other person's finger. He was
So were
like,
his hands. His hands were enormous. Did you?
yeah, and his eyebrows were always pointing down, which is my Disney cue. Bad. Angry eyebrows constantly. So yeah, I got it. That one I got.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Phew.
Yeah. So if I got it, then kids get it too. So right now we're aiming for the audience. We got it.
Yeah, had a question. How did Anastasia miss the train? Because I think I might have looked away or something like that, and when I saw like the train was pulling away, her grandmother's reaching for her, she's in a crowd of people, and I'm like, how did this dumbass child, like, how did they get separated? How did she miss the train? I think I just literally didn't see that happen.
I think it was the Dowager Empress's fault. She should have like pushed Anastasia on the train and then she got on after, but like she was running, dragging Anastasia, and it seemed like the crowd of people kind of pulled her, the Dowager, onto the train
And not
without
the
reaching.
child.
And they were like holding hands, and then she lost her hand. But this is what I realized this time is she hits her head when she falls off the train. So then that's how she gets this
Ah.
amnesia. Yeah.
Because I did have some questions about how this selective amnesia worked, where she's like, I don't remember my entire childhood all of a sudden. And I was like, okay. And then also that I think she said she was found wandering in the streets. And I'm like, okay, she would have been found wandering in the streets near the palace, dressed like a princess. Like, I could have maybe used some deductive reasoning. And also, like, this was the early 1900s. But they did have photographs of the Romanov family. Like, there were photos. They were in the newspaper. People knew what Anastasia looked like, is what I'm saying.
I don't know. All kids kind of look the same. And she's probably dirty and like
But
smeared
she's still
with dirt.
wearing a gown. Like, I'm sure she fell in the mud and smeared with dirt, but they were at a ball. She was in a fancy-ass dress.
But then, I mean, who knows how many days she was out there wandering, right? Maybe she got torn up and maybe she ran into some helpful Bolshevik who made her change into peasant clothes to hide her. We just have to acknowledge that she's fine. No one knows who she is. She's an amnesic orphan.
Yeah.
The end.
It's tenuous, but it's fine. It's fine. We need it for the movie to happen.
It is pretty bad, though. You made a really good point. Like, grandma really fucked up that train boarding. That was really on her. She messed it up pretty bad. So I think it's kind of her fault more than the peasants of Russia.
No, I was wondering if like maybe like, because again, I think I kind of looked away maybe as it was happening. So I was like, did I miss something where like guards separated them? Maybe like someone was coming and then Anastasia had to like slip away and then fell. Like I don't know.
I think she just kind of lost her grip and got lost in the struggle.
They misjudged the speed of the leaving train. They thought they could both get on it, but Anastasia's little stumpy child legs were too short. Couldn't make it. It's pretty sad.
Yeah.
If you think about it in reality, that's the most awful thing. This woman, this Dowager Empress, had like the most traumatic, worst day of her life. Like, how do you get past that? I don't know.
Your entire family is murdered except for possibly your one granddaughter that you tried to save and lost.
Yeah.
Like, no wonder she's in such a state when we finally meet her later.
Well, she's been tricked for the past 10 years. So we get like a nice 10 years later jump. Mm-hmm. And so I guess Anastasia's 18, which that made sense. I was a little worried about how old she was going to be in this movie, but I think everything's legal. Everything's above board.
Don't you have to be older than that to get married? I swear to God. You should
Not
be.
In, like 1916 Russia, I guess.
Oh, right. She's middle-aged. Cool.
Oh, yeah.
What happens? Jackie, you probably know the chronological order of this movie better than I do. But the next big, we get a very important song now, don't we?
We sure do. One might argue the most important song.
We do.
What could it be?
This is the song that I've been torturing Jen by singing every time I see her. And There's a Rumour in St. Petersburg. And it's amazing. Of course, they have to have a citywide choreographed dance party where every peasant knows a really elaborate dance. But I love it. But it's introducing Dmitri and Vlad, and they're laying out their plan to hold auditions, hire a woman to pretend to be Anastasia. But Dmitri's like, we're going to get such easy money because I have all this inside palace knowledge. So he's sure that he can train an Anastasia to be the best fake ever. He's still planning on conning an old lady, but it's for 10 million rubles, and they're poor, so...
Yeah, and I mean also, like, I don't know what standpoint politically we're supposed to take from this movie, but, like, fuck the rich a little bit. Like,
yeah, give me your money, you rich Dowager Empress. You live in Paris. Like,
yeah, I'm not saying murder's cool, but, like, the Tsar was taken down for a reason, and it was because the people, like Dmitri, were struggling. And so now, if the old lady got away with her millions of dollars to just live it up in Paris, like, why not take 10 million for yourself? Right. While you and the Russians starve.
Yeah, they actually, in A Rumour in St. Petersburg, they're setting up how really awful Russia is a little, but only in the background. Yeah. It's like all these factory workers, everything's gray and bleak, and the only thing they have to keep them going is gossip. And they're just like, ha, 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 we love it. But it's like, oh, God, that's dark. The Russian Revolution was real harsh. But anyway, so they show Dmitri, who's established as a con man. He forges papers. And they do their little sing about how they're going to get money. And then this I never noticed before, but they just jump out a window and slide down a snowy roof.
Yeah.
20 stories off the ground. And I was like, don't be encouraging kids to do this. This is not safe. But yeah, so that introduces those two guys. Vlad is Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to talk about the cast of this movie. It is a stacked cast, once again.
I made notes during the credits because I was like, I recognized some of these voices, but I couldn't place who they were. And then as the names were coming up, I was like, holy shit. Right? And then Bernadette Peters came up, and I was like, all right, that's why we're watching it.
Yeah, of course.
One of the many reasons why we're watching it. A perk, really. But yeah, Kelsey Grammer and John Cusack is Dmitri. You got Meg Ryan as Anya, and then Dame Angela Lansbury as the Dowager Empress.
Yeah.
I recognized her voice right away. She has such a distinct voice. I was like, okay, yes. I know who the narrator is.
It's so soothing. I love her voice. Yeah. Love her. So did you guys hear the xylophone in Rumour in St. Petersburg?
Oh, I forgot to listen.
I specifically asked you to listen for it. I'm going to cut in here back in 2014 because I'm a really cool person. I did a summer like music program at NYU that was like a Broadway percussion seminar. And so we were working with all these like Broadway pit musicians and all this. And one of the sessions that we did was like studio recording. And so we were brought into a studio, and the way it works for movie soundtracks usually is the orchestra basically gets the music, gets to look at it for like a few minutes, and then they record it and they do a couple takes or whatever. And so they were like, yeah, go onto an instrument that you feel pretty comfortable sight reading on. So like not having a chance to actually learn the parts. So I like went to the xylophone, and then I saw that the music was Rumour in St. Petersburg, and holy shit, that's a lot of notes. I struggled my ass off, but it's one of my proudest moments. Anyway, so next time you hear it, just think of me struggling.
Do you have the recording?
No, I wish we did. It would have been so bad though, all of us just struggling, but it was very fun. It was just to kind of give us a taste of like what that job would have been like.
That sounds insanely hard.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, studio musicians, for all that you do.
The music in this movie is so good too. We'll get to it all, but like, I love it. Yeah, so we kind of, Rumour in St. Petersburg kind of sets up the background, and then that's when Anya is leaving the orphanage, and we get another great hit where she's,
Can I just?
Uh-oh.
Can I just?
Oh, no.
She is literally standing at a fork in the road, singing about, like, what do I do? And one sign says St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
And the other says a fishing village. Don't even name it. And she's standing there. I get a literal fork in the road outside this orphanage. This orphanage is in the middle of nowhere with nothing around it but snow, and this one sign saying you can either go to St. Petersburg where maybe dreams can come true, or a fishing village.
Yeah, that's exactly how rural Russian signs work.
Well, and
written in the English alphabet.
Yeah.
And the owner of the orphanage told her to go to the fishing village, right? Didn't she tell her to turn left or whatever?
But like, why? I don't know.
She got her a job in the fishing village. That was her gross fishing village fingers future. But you're right, it would have said not a fishing village.
And like, where in the world is there ever such a literal fork in the road like that? I loved it.
The other thing that bothered me at the fork in the road moment is that she's standing there with her coat wide open, or I think it's buttoned, but it's pretty loose, and it's like she's got her scarf in her pocket, and it's like, this is the middle of the winter, seemingly, in Russia. Maybe put your coat on properly and wrap that scarf around.
Dude, this girl, the entire movie, has her scarf trailing behind her out of her pocket. I'm like, you're getting that so dirty. Like, you're on the street. It's disgusting. Pick up your shit.
I mean,
Come on, Anya.
As Canadians, I think we can say that there's been times in the dead of winter with tons of snow outside, we've been standing around with our coats open, not caring. I've definitely done that, so I can understand that. But like, your scarf is on the ground, it's getting so wet from the snow, and then it's soggy, and then you have to carry that around, and it's dirty. Like, yeah, I disagree. But I guess she chose to do that so that a random dog can appear out of nowhere.
Puka!
Yeah. How is this dog alive?
Where did it come from? And it's like,
apparently
there was
like
a small dog.
Yeah, apparently there was a deleted scene or something where he was like at the orphanage or something, and like there were a bunch of animals, and he like took a liking to her, and so he followed her or something.
That would be important information.
Yeah, no, but he's just a random dog in the Russian wilderness.
With ears that are wings, somehow. His ears flap about a lot.
Yeah. And when his tail wiggles, it's just his butt that wiggles, which I thought was adorable. I really like this dog, I'm not gonna lie.
Puka's pretty great.
Yeah.
He is very cute, but since he appeared out of nowhere, like we said, I kind of thought he was magic, because he also would be like, oh, we need to go to St. Petersburg. This is how you'll find your family. And then, like, later when stuff was happening, he would be like, aha, we must stand here, and then you won't get hit by whatever. Like, he was just, I was like, this dog is somehow magic. He, like, knows things. He's helping her somehow.
He understands, like, language, and, yeah, he really does know more than the average dog.
Yeah.
My dogs are idiots. But I never thought about it. But I don't think he's magic. I think he's just in the grand tradition of Disney-esque movies. You got to have an animal sidekick. Yeah. It helps you out. Really cute.
But we also already have a talking bat. So.
Yeah, but he's evil. Hello.
He's not evil. He's fine.
He's kind of over Rasputin's evil bullshit.
He's aiding and abetting evil.
Okay, he's like, complicit, but he's not evil.
Still pretty bad, though. Not a great guy. Wouldn't trust him. What I thought was really funny about this walking through the woods is that First of all, she's just literally prancing her way through Siberia, essentially. And then she tops a completely barren, snow-covered hill, and St. Petersburg is there, right there. Like, it's literally, the city limits are this hill, and then it's complete barren wilderness right out. I was like, I don't know if that's how cities work, but
let us know, people from St. Petersburg.
Pretty sure they clear-cut the area around St. Petersburg and make it fields for food.
At first, because like we said, the orphanage is kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's just a snowy forest where she's trying to decide where to go. And then, like you said, St. Petersburg is right there. But at first I was like, is she going to walk all the way to St. Petersburg? And then it was 2 feet away. But then later in the movie, they walk across, like, Germany?
Yeah. And it's spring. I don't know if you noticed that, but one day it's winter, and then it's spring.
I was just thinking about that.
They walk across Europe. Like, what? This movie?
With no food to speak of.
No. Where do they stop? Where are they sleeping? Do they have soap? Are they washing up anywhere?
They clearly have money. They're on a train, then a boat, and then a car.
Yeah, they hitch some rides.
I guess, but
they're fine.
I didn't think they had money because they were on the train with, like, fake passes.
But that's the exit visa to get out of Russia. I think they had the money. They didn't have the paperwork.
Okay.
But also, like, you could tell that they're planning this long con. They're investing in it. Wardrobe, travel. Like, they're putting, I think we can assume this is all Dmitri and Vlad's entire life savings bet on this venture. Although they're in a remarkably good mood the entire time for being so on the razor's edge of poverty.
Yes. And for putting so much effort into this kind of scheme, like you said, like, they're very, like, nonchalant about it a lot of the time. They're like, Anya, we'll be fine. They're halfway there when they even start to bother to teach her about the princess. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, and they really bet on her going along with this without ever telling her what the actual scheme is. Not until they're in the wilds of Germany are they like, by the way, you have to prove it to this Sophie person who's the gatekeeper to the dowager.
But what did she think the plan was? Like, obviously she would have to prove in some way that she was the princess.
I think she said
naive.
I think she said she thought if she was Anastasia, the grandmother would just recognize her right away.
Right.
So she thought she would just go into a room and be like, hey, do you know who I am? And then the grandmother would be like, no, because even if you are my granddaughter, I haven't seen you in 10 years, but you've gone through puberty and changed quite a bit, so I wouldn't recognize you right away from sight. I'm also an old woman. Maybe my memory's gone. Who knows?
That's a lot to take in.
And then Anya would be like, oh, well, I guess I'll go wander the streets of Paris looking for my real family.
Just walk back to Russia, no big deal.
Show everyone the necklace and be like, does this mean anything to you? Does this mean anything to you? And then she dies of whatever Les Miserables disease.
Different time periods, for sure.
I mean, the same diseases. They go around, they come around. But you're right. So, yeah, we're kind of skipping over the whole adventure part of the movie, though.
Sorry. Just the
which
fact
it's a giant train crash.
But first, she just arrives in St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you going to say, Jen?
No, I was going to be like, I'm sorry, they walk across Europe. Like, I can't, I just need to make sure that everyone understands that these characters get into a train crash. I don't even think they had left Russia really at that point. They were maybe at the border, and then they walk to Germany.
So Russia's small, right? Famously small country?
Yep.
Tiny. Also, people have walked places before. I don't know why you're so upset about this. Also, they don't give us any kind of indication of the time frame. So
no, I assume it takes months, but I'm just like, their whole plan is like, oh, that one train crashed, and that is the only train in history. So now we will walk to Germany and then get on a boat.
Well, I think they have to walk because they don't have exit visas, so they have to sneak out of Russia. They can't take a train out of Russia.
Jump on another train and go to the port.
They don't have exit visas. You can't leave Russia unless you have an exit visa. It's a police state.
No, but once they have snuck out across the border, they are now out of Russia.
Hop on a train.
Hop on any train that is going along the many tracks across, again, Europe.
Clearly, they had to cross in a non-populated area, so then they had to walk a long way, and then they do get to the port, and that's when they get on the boat. So they took your advice.
Okay, fair. But they also don't need a boat. They could have just gone on a different train to Paris. Trains go to Paris. Lots of them.
But they pass through a bunch of other countries, and then you need to have a passport.
Oh, yeah. Maybe you do still need passports at this point. That makes sense.
They did the best they could with what they had, Jen.
But then how did they get on the boat to France if they didn't have a passport for that, Jackie?
You can definitely bribe ship captains.
But not trains.
Exactly. Conductors have like a whole code of honor. Ship captains are like, whatever, booze, prostitutes, it's all good.
Probably also a lot easier to hide from officials on a boat.
Yeah,
than...
and it was a pretty deserted boat, let's be honest. This
I'm
boat
pretty
is
sure
not
they were
like
the
a
only
cruise
passengers
ship.
on the boat.
Yes, it's like a cargo ship that Dimitri, the like scoundrel charmer, scoundrel charmed his way on.
I can think of another scoundrel charmer on a boat at this time.
Titanic guy?
Yeah.
Oh. I was like, what movie
I'm
are
flying.
you talking about?
She said scoundrel charmer, and I was like, John McClane? What is he doing in this movie?
I went to Han Solo. I was like, what are you talking about?
You guys?
Scoundrel charmer.
Dawson.
But then she said on a boat, and then I clued in.
Yeah, that's the
there.
boat part confused me. I didn't get there. And then you said at this time, and I was like, 1926? Like,
yeah, I guess it's 10 years later. Yeah,
a little later, but
yeah,
the movie came out the same year.
Yeah, I was like, you meant 97, like at the same time, movie world, not the same time in the world of the movie.
Well, I'm really glad this joke took this long to explain.
I also thought Titanic was out in 96. That's wrong.
Nope,
It's 97?
97.
All right, calm down. I believe you. Like, no, how dare you? Okay, but we skipped over the fact that
we can go back now.
The fact that they actually meet, because I have issues with this too.
Okay, so yeah.
She goes to St. Petersburg and tries to leave. Anyway, but they're like, you can't leave without an exit visa, dumbass. And this like creepy old lady says, go find Dimitri, he can get you forged papers. He lives at the old palace. And so she goes to this old deserted palace, and I never noticed it, but it's full of rich people things. There's plates and candelabras and expensive fabrics everywhere. How has this place not been looted? It should have been looted the day of the big ball.
I agree with you. Thank you. Because they were like, oh, he's like at the old palace. I thought he was like out front of the old palace. I did not know he was living in there and it was deserted with all of the belongings so that she could walk through and have visions of her family dancing and be like, why is this so familiar? They either would have looted it, they would have burnt it down, people would have moved in. It's not just sitting there empty waiting for you to come back, Anastasia.
Also, Dimitri and Vlad have like an apartment set up with a fire roaring, bunch of possessions and like rich people blankets around. I'm like, everyone is freezing to death. Why has no one else thought of this? It's just not feasible.
Maybe there are other squatters in there. They've just all taken their own wing,
But then also, if Dimitri and Vlad are looking for money, why don't you try hawking some of those wares? Be like, hey, would you like this solid gold candelabra, please? I would like some food to eat.
Interesting.
Yeah, how many hams can this candelabra get me? Oh, half a ham? Okay, fine. So yeah, that was a big problem. I didn't really realize until now when I was like, wait a second. Wasn't this whole thing about the opulent wealth of the upper class and everyone else saying, me want?
Everyone just left it there.
Yeah, it was like, I think we've made our point. Let's go back to the slums. So,
but they meet, and that's all that matters.
In a sweet way. I really, really love, and I don't know why, I really love the animation they do where she's imagining the ball and the dancers come out of the paintings and float down. It's beautiful.
I do want to talk about the animation in this movie because I can't decide how I feel about it. Like, there's sometimes where it's great and like super realistic, and then there's other times where there's like really jarring moments. I don't know if you guys noticed this. There's like every so often there's a shot where it's like that doesn't look like it's in the same drawing. Like the music box at the beginning was one of those where it suddenly looked very 3D. It was very weird, and there were a few, and I'm sure we'll talk about it as we go on, but there was a really cool shot when she was entering the palace, just kind of exploring, and like, I'm not even sure how to explain it, but she was like going up the stairs, and the camera, like, it kind of like panned upwards, like it did this like circular motion that I was like, I didn't know they could do that on an animated movie. Like, it felt like very cinematic, like live action cinematic. It was a weird moment.
Well, this movie is like half old school hand-drawn animation and then computer graphics, so every time the music box is there, that's a computer image. And when she's going up the stairs, most of the backgrounds are computer image with the drawn images on top. So it's very obviously weird. And I totally know what you mean. It's herky-jerky. It doesn't blend. There's something always off with the presentation.
The worst example of it was the horse at the very end, like in the final battle with Rasputin. I don't know if you guys noticed that the like flying horse, it was so strange and 3D. It was just, what movie is this from? Because it's not in this one.
It definitely looked really weird. But I also think they could have made it a little bit less jarring by not making the cartoon characters so cartoony. Like everyone other than Anastasia and Dmitri is like ridiculously proportioned, jowly, mouthy, teeth. Like they're all like, Anastasia and Dmitri look like people as much as they can. The rest of them are like grotesque monsters.
Which is weird because it was done with rotoscope. Do you guys know what rotoscoping is? So it's like one of the original ways of doing animation, or one of the more original like advanced ways of doing animation, which is where you basically animate over live footage. And so like they actually had people, not the actors, but they had people come in and like act out most of the scenes, and then you literally trace over each frame. So it's a really weird, it like can potentially go into uncanny valley, which I think is what happens in this movie a couple of times. A really good example, I was reading up on this today, really good example comparing rotoscope animation to like, I don't know what the other term is, but the more fluid animation that we see in a lot of Disney movies is if you watch Pinocchio, the Blue Fairy versus Pinocchio, just the fluidity is like hugely different because the Blue Fairy was done using rotoscope and Pinocchio wasn't. So that's like a good comparison if you guys are ever curious, because it's just like weirdly jerky, not quite human, but also more human. Like it's this really uncanny valley moment.
Yeah, I did find that with the animation too. Like you said, I wasn't sure how I felt about it. There were some scenes where I was like, especially like the castle, some of the backgrounds were just really beautiful. And like I liked when they were doing the bit in Paris and the sky behind them kind of looked like impressionist painting kind of.
Yeah.
It was really like artsy beautiful, but then sometimes when it was just more normal scenes, I was like you said, it was kind of like jerky and it was supposed to be really human, but it didn't look human and it just kind of didn't sit right with me, and I couldn't put my finger on what bothered me about some of it, but I'm glad to hear we all had the same issue.
Yeah, and it seems to be that the idea of rotoscoping is considered kind of a cop-out now, like it's the easy way, quote-unquote easy way of animating, which is, I don't know, it's weird. But it's not necessarily bad, like it's just not consistent all the way through, I guess. So where are we?
So she's in the palace.
Right.
She meets Dmitri. He's kind of cons her a little bit because she happens to mention she's going to Paris, and that's where the Dowager Empress is. So they both want to go to Paris, but he kind of tricks her into believing that his reasons are to help her when it's clearly not.
Yeah, I feel like this also kind of threw me because when she's like, oh, I don't remember who I am, and he was like, holy shit, this is perfect. I was kind of like, this is perfect because you guys can be honest with each other, but he's still scamming her and trying to like, and then later on makes her pretend she's the princess by teaching her all these things, where I'm like, he could really be like, listen, I'm trying to find the princess. You might be her because you don't know. So let's just team up and get this done. And then you're in Paris.
But I mean,
turns into the whole thing where he's like, you have to trick and pretend and learn all these things.
Well, she needs to, like, she would be, why are you trying to do this? So, like, he would have to tell her about the money.
Yeah.
And I think he can tell right away that she's not up for actually trying to con someone. She's a pretty honest seeming person. So, and he doesn't want to share the money either, right? So he doesn't want her to know that there's money at stake, both for her pride and her potential greed. So he's got to present it to her in such a way where he's helping her. But she really does go along with it without him seeming to have any gain. She's like, she never says, why are you doing this?
Yeah, that's exactly. True. And that's why I'm like, they could be working together and still getting what each of them want from this. She just wants to go to Paris. Maybe this is her family, maybe it's not. And he wants to try to get this money. Like, I don't know. And instead she's like, oh, well, I need to go to Paris and you just happen to be going and you're looking for the princess and maybe I'm the princess, so I'll go along with you. But like you said, she's never like, wait a minute, why do you have a third ticket for a missing princess and you don't know who she is?
Yeah.
It's a good point. I've never thought about that.
I think it's just her orphan upbringing. She maybe wasn't exposed to like a lot of people and their tendency to lie.
You would think the orphans with their rougher upbringing would expect the worst in all humans.
Interesting.
Also, between this and Annie, Austin, are you just into plucky orphans?
Whoa, did we figure out Austin's movie type? Plucky orphans.
You sing and dance.
They really do.
I'm also
They have red
horribly
hair.
offended that at the risk of going back, we don't have to go back and talk about it, but I am really offended that we just breezed right past Journey to the Past, which is a great song. The one that was nominated for Best Song at the Oscars.
Great
Which
song.
one's that?
It's the one where she's on the path.
Okay.
At the fork in the road, you know?
Yeah. She chooses the road less traveled to St. Petersburg. Wait, that's definitely the more traveled road.
She's like, fuck you, fishing village.
I mean, who wants to smell like fish? Nobody. Nobody wants to.
True.
But yeah, so they leave. I think we can just kind of assume
Yeah.
for reasons they decide to travel together.
And meanwhile, Rasputin has figured out that she's still alive, thanks to his bat sidekick, Bartok.
Yeah. So now we have more questions. So
Okay.
he has a talking bat as a sidekick. Sure, I accept that.
Yeah.
He's in some sort of limbo, Rasputin.
Yeah.
And he's also
Yes.
like a zombie because his body parts keep falling off.
Because he's in limbo, yes.
And then the bat is also now in limbo with him. How did the bat... Because the bat
He
was in
rode-
the palace.
He rode the reliquary.
And so that is just, like, it's just magic.
Yeah, it just sucked him down a weird tunnel through the center of the earth to the limbo dimension.
So that
I
he
don't
could-
understand what your problem with this is.
So that he could tell him, like, hey, I saw maybe Anastasia in the
Well,
castle.
The reliquary got woken up by Anastasia's presence, and it zoomed, but it like snagged Bartok's leg. So he wasn't intending to go to limbo. He just got sucked in with the reliquary.
Okay, and then he's there, and then he's like, Anastasia is back, and then Rasputin's like mouth falls off his face and his hand separates, and he's like,
I thought you would like this about Rasputin.
Oh, do you think I don't? I love that he's a zombie.
Okay, good.
I do
I'm
not
just,
like this.
I'm not exactly sure like the logic of it, but I'm totally on board.
I hate this part of the movie. This is my least favorite part, that he's always like stretching his ligaments.
Oh,
and
the
skin.
ligaments!
Yes! It's like, oh, that was good. I appreciated that.
And when he's like always, whenever he gets angry, he starts like ripping his skin off and pulling his own head off and stuff. I'm just like, dude, calm down.
This hand comes off and there's the bone.
Yeah, his thumb. I don't like any of that.
Why is that in a children's movie, first of all?
Because it's a children's movie about a family being executed.
Yeah, I guess they were like, we've lost all track of what's appropriate. Why don't we put a zombie in the middle of this movie?
If I had seen this as a young child, I would have been into that.
Excellent.
Yeah,
I thought
you
that might be
fast-forwarded.
one point in this movie's favor for you.
Yeah, I like that you predicted I would enjoy zombie Rasputin. Although, again, I don't understand why he is like that.
Sometimes it's better to not ask questions.
You
This is one of those
Well,
times.
like,
sell
he
your
did.
soul to the devil, I guess, and then if it doesn't, your plan doesn't go as planned, they just stick you in limbo. Where
Well,
your
he
body
does
falls
die.
apart. Okay.
He dies because he's trying to get Anastasia and he falls through the ice, right? So he died, but his work on Earth wasn't finished. He didn't fulfill his deal, so that's why he had to go to limbo.
Physical
Right.
body died.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he's
yes.
rotting, but he can't move.
But I just feel like if you sell your soul to the devil and then you die, like the devil has your soul. That's the whole point. Like I don't know why you go to zombie limbo.
I think maybe it's like once the whole family dies, then the devil gets his soul. If you make a deal with the devil, like I'll give you my soul if you give me the power to kill all the rest or the Romanovs, but you don't kill all the Romanovs, he doesn't get your soul because the deal's not complete.
It's true.
I guess. But I was just thinking of it in the way of like, if I sell my soul to the devil for like, say to become rich and famous, but then I fuck up and I'm not rich and famous, the devil still has my soul. He's like, bitch, I like gave you the power. You fucked up. That's on you. Like, you don't
I
get
guess it
to
depends on the wording of the contract.
That's true. Also,
You
like,
gotta read the fine print in these
also,
things.
like, did they say he sold his soul to the devil? I just,
They just
It
said he
says
sold
that
his
in.
soul, I think.
Soul.
okay, because I was
Is
like,
there someone else that's in the business of buying souls?
I don't know. That's why I was curious.
So basically Rasputin like sends his little ghosty minions to try to fuck with Anastasia, and their first move is like cause a terrible train accident.
Oh, can I just say one thing?
Yep.
We never really mentioned that the way he kills the Romanovs is to incite the Russian Revolution, like his little demons.
I totally missed that. Fuck.
Yeah, his little demons go and like unlock the palace gates so the crowd can come in and kill them. So it's like Rasputin didn't actually do anything. He never killed anyone. He just, he just was a puppet master and sowed the seeds,
Interesting.
which I thought was kind of cool.
I totally missed that. Do I know
Yeah.
this movie? Apparently not.
It's cool. Like he just kind of unlocked the door, but the
Well, he
Romanovs
carries
really
on-
did it themselves by being rich assholes.
Yeah, he carries on the tradition by sending his little minions out now to try to kill Anastasia. And can we talk about this train scene? Because I feel like they're way too calm for having found out that their train car has been removed from the rest of the train.
Very quippy. I'm like, you guys should be panicking.
Yeah. And also, like, I do have to question how hard these little demon things are trying to kill Anastasia, because they kind of are just like, oh, maybe we'll, like, get rid of the people driving the train so that hopefully it crashes. I'm like, you could have just gotten right to the point.
That's actually a really good point I never thought of, because the demons get together and break the bridge apart. So why didn't they just get together and, like, push this train off a cliff? Like, they don't need to, like, set up all these scenarios that will ultimately kill them. They can just explode the train.
But they didn't. They were just like, we're going to go for a big dramatic train crash scene, but we're going to give them lots of opportunities to fight against that. And then Dimitri, who I guess just somehow is very coordinated. Yeah, because he's like leaping over train cars and like jumping off this moving train and catching himself. And I was like, how does he have these skills?
Keanu Reeves is the reincarnated him from Speed. Because he goes under the train.
And plus, did you not see him slide down that roof earlier in the movie? Clearly, he's like superhuman.
Yeah, and that said to me, like, I bet this man can like jump on a moving train and be fine.
Yeah, he's very coordinated. He literally jumps from the top of the train and lands on the hitch that connects the two cars. And I'm like, that is physically impossible. You would fall. But okay, sure. He's great in a crisis. Let's say Dimitri's got that going for him.
Yeah.
Definitely want to have him around.
I'm not sure if at this point in the train when they're bickering with each other, I saw any romantic inklings. Vlad really like throws it out there. He's basically telling you like, they're going to fall in love because this is how movies work. But like, there's no reason to believe that they actually like each other in any way yet.
Yeah, it's just that classic like, oh, two people are button heads. Maybe they secretly are fighting because they're fighting their attraction.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't buy it.
I don't buy it in real life, but you're right. It is classic movie trope. Like,
it's basically a romantic comedy with like Rasputin.
Yeah, with a zombie Rasputin who's trying to kill everyone. Sure, but you're right. The train crash scene is quite big.
Yes, and you're right. It is very quippy. When they finally jump off the train into the snow, I did catch a nice, guess this is our stop, or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then they gently fall into some beautiful plush snow. No one hits a hidden rock. No one breaks anything or hurts themselves.
And then they walk across Europe.
Yeah, and then it's spring the next day. I watched it this time because I was like, it's weird how it changes to spring. And they literally show them walking out of snow into grass. Like, they try and give you a transition moment, but it's just like, literally, this is the line that divides spring from winter. They cross it, take off their coats.
That's probably the border from Russia, aka winter, to spring, anywhere else.
Yeah, not Russia.
And then they eventually get on the boat, and then Anya starts having a sleepwalking event, I guess. This is Rasputin's doing again, where she almost kills herself, almost jumps over the side of the boat because she's imagining her like playing with her friends as a kid.
Sorry, I have another issue with the lack of like, I don't know, speed or dedication of this trying to kill Anastasia. Like, again, they could have killed her on the train so much easier. This with the sleepwalking, she's standing on the edge of that boat for like 10-15 minutes. Enough time for the like dog to wake Dimitri to run up there. The boat's like back and forth crashing because there's a storm, everything's wet, he can't see her. She would have slipped and fallen and died.
She has apparently the best balance.
And
yeah, she's on her tippy toes on the edge of a roiling sea ship.
Yeah, and then when Dimitri comes to rescue her, he also jumps onto the edge of the boat, doesn't he? And picks her up. Like, just shove her back the other way. You don't need to jump up on that ledge also.
He swings on a rope and then lands on the ledge and then picks her up, and they're like teetering, but he still manages to get them back onto the ship.
And like, if Rasputin's in her dreams and he's manipulating her dreams, Freddy Krueger style, again, into it, feeling it, loving it.
Yeah.
I'd probably get the job done a little quicker than having her stand on the edge of the ship for 10 minutes. Like, maybe in the dream world, the cliff that she's standing on falls, and then sleepwalking her, thinks she's falling, and that is the momentum to push her off the edge of the boat. Like, he could have manipulated things to get the deed done a little faster. I think these villains are not smart enough, and I want them to kill Anastasia.
You're very passionate, and I appreciate that. It doesn't make any sense, actually. You're right. Like, if they can break that bridge, then you've destroyed the premise that these things manipulate the world without having any tangible effect on it.
Also, is this the last thing that we see before, like, the end? Like, what else does he try?
No,
I mean, after this is where... Yeah, because after this is when, like, she meets her grandmother and, like, there's that whole plot to the movie. I don't think there's any other Rasputin stuff.
Does he only try and kill her 3 times?
Yeah, and this is sort of where I was struggling with Rasputin as a villain in this film. Like I said at the beginning, I didn't even catch that he needed to kill her to get out of limbo. Like, I just thought he was really fixated because he discovered he had failed. But I was like, I don't understand why he's so bothered by her. Like, why is he so trying to kill her, but then not enough for it to actually impact the plot in a lot of ways? Like, I kind of feel like we almost didn't need him as the villain. The movie is enough if there's just, she's on this grand adventure and maybe things go wrong and they still struggle. Like, maybe there's still a train crash, but it's not done by demons and they have to, like, find a new way to get there. Like, there's still ways to have different obstacles throughout the movie, or, like, maybe she's like, oh, I have to travel in secret because if people find out I'm really Anastasia, they'll, like, drag me back to Russia and behead me or whatever. Maybe not quite that dark, but you know what I mean? I just feel like I didn't think Rasputin, as much as I love the zombie villain getting into your dreams and manipulating you, think that was a great little touch, but there wasn't enough of him to make it make sense for the movie, and I don't think the movie needed it.
I agree with you, honestly.
I can't agree with you because children and me, we need an established bad guy that can be defeated so that the ending can be happy without any gray areas. Right? Like, this is made for children. They need a guy who can be defeated. It can't just be like, we escaped the mob of Russian peasants, but they're still outside. You need somebody who can be killed, gone, check mark, cross it out, done.
I see that point, that yes, this is for children. They need a literal cartoon villain. The villain cannot just be like Mother Russia as a whole.
I have a compromise for you both.
It can't be like communism.
Yes, the villain of this movie cannot be communism. I have a compromise for you both then in the discussion of Rasputin and whether he is needed in this. The Broadway
Razzie P. You pronounce it wrong. It's Razzie P.
Razzie P. He does not exist in the Broadway musical version of this. Mm-hmm. They took him out and they replaced him with a more military villain. I don't know, which I mean is more realistic. Yeah, the Broadway show is definitely more historical, I suppose. Than it doesn't have the flights of fancy that this movie has. But so I just thought that might be a good compromise for you both. That it can be done either way.
See, I think that Jen and I both like zombie Rasputin.
Oh yeah.
But so I would rather it be this way. But like, yeah, I could see that
maybe it doesn't translate to a show.
Yeah,
right?
It'd be more realistic. I'm sure there was so much corrupt police and military. Oh no, we forgot about when they dance on the boat. You guys, they dance on the boat.
He buys a dress and then she puts it on and he's like, oh, you're beautiful now. You look exactly the same except you're wearing a dress. So it's like the teen movie equivalent of like taking your glasses off and your hair out of your ponytail. But
you say that as if it's a bad thing.
Totally. I don't know if you noticed, but
you're stunning. And she looks the exact same.
Her previous shirt had giant sleeves.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's clearly like hiding her delicate feminine arms. Which Dimitri's all about.
So they're having some flirtation. Vlad was right.
So cute.
He planted the seed, and it is very cute.
This is definitely one of those things when I was a kid where I was like, oh, romance, you say? Boys dancing slowly with you? Oh my. I loved this part. I was very into it.
Young Jackie's getting like hot under the collar. She's watching this.
I gotta say, older Jackie is still like, why don't we slow dance more? Why isn't that an opportunity? Why don't we get to waltz? That is such an interesting thing that I want to do.
I mean,
and I've never done.
Right now, we got to be 6 feet apart, so there is no slow dancing. No waltzing. I'm sorry.
I mean, fair. However, the previous X number of years that I've been alive, I don't want to state how many that is, I have not waltzed. So what was the world's excuse up until COVID?
Well, post-COVID, there's no excuse.
Yes, right? I will take waltzing lessons at the local waltzery, and I shall dance.
People are going to be getting the vaccine, being like, can't wait to see my family again. And Jackie's like, signing up for waltz lessons tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, it was lovely. I love their little dance. More sowing the seeds of love, if you will. They're falling into it because she wears a dress and she brushes her hair.
Yep.
Which is the key, as far as I'm concerned.
You know what else is the key?
Paris!
Paris!
Now they're in Paris. But it's so stupid. I have problems with Paris because they go see the Grand Duchess's cousin. Yeah. And then she's like, yeah, I like you guys, sort of. Let's go shopping. And then buys them like 100 different outfits.
So, okay, but to back up, the Dowager Princess has said, or Dowager Empress, what's her title?
Yeah,
Empress has said that she doesn't want to see any other women that are claiming to be Anastasia, tired of being tricked. And of course, this happens right before the real Anastasia comes into the picture. But yeah, so Sophie's kind of she's her cousin, and she's kind of the first point of contact with everyone who's coming in and kind of questioning them and kind of getting through the first round of, could this possibly be the real Anastasia? So she interviews Anya and Dmitri, and I guess Anya has a little bit of a recollection because she was like, oh, a boy pulled us through a wall, or a wall opened up. And so that's not a detail that people know, which makes Dmitri realize, shit, she's actually the princess.
Yep, because he was the boy in the wall.
Yeah. So then things get a little interesting. But yeah, and then Sophie's like, well, sorry, can't bring you to see her, but let's go shopping around Paris. What's the problem with that? I don't understand.
All of them clothes.
Also, is she inviting them to stay in their, Parisian home? It looks like she is. She's like,
yeah, well, I think...
Vlad, I know you from Russia. We maybe have a little thing.
They have a little thingy thing,
They
yeah.
definitely do.
Dmitri, Anya, this dog, come on in. Let me take you shopping, buy you multiple outfits, take you out to dinner, take you out dancing, take you to the ballet, which is expensive as hell, buy you a gown for that evening.
I don't know, she might suspect that this might be the real thing because she was like, can't bring you to see her, but P.S., we're going to be at the ballet. She's kind of setting this up, right? Her plans don't go according to plan. But so I think she's taking them shopping for the ballet.
But also, they fled Russia during a revolution. How much money were they able to bring with them to Paris? $10 million reward and all this money to blow on clothes.
Yeah. Yep. Somehow they're just acknowledged as royalty in their expat country, and they give them money. I mean, maybe they had, it's technically the modern world. They had banks, they have bank accounts. The bulk of their personal, it's a family dynasty, so they must have amassed a ton of wealth through previous generations. Investments. I don't know how money works. Something about interest and accruing, if you will.
That's true. And I do know that in reality they were the royal families are all interconnected. So they were related to the British royal family, and I think the Danish royal family too.
Right.
Not the French. So I don't know why this movie takes place in Paris, but whatever. It's just because it's romantic.
It holds the key.
Yes,
to your heart.
Could just be that there's old money connections at play. But I did just kind of think to myself, as they are staying in this palace kind of in Paris, going to the ballet, splashing their wealth around, and then at the end they're about to have a coming out ball kind of thing, and I was like, you guys aren't royalty anymore, right? You fled your country.
Well, I actually wanted to ask you guys this, since we're talking about this and I didn't check. Is there any truth to extended members of the royal family going to France?
From what I looked into, I didn't go too deep into the extended family and whatnot, but I know that the Tsar's parents and their cousins or whatever, I said, they were all connected to other royal families. So one of them was married to someone in wherever, and Tsar Nicholas II.
History lessons with Jenn right here.
Yeah, someone was married to whatever.
Shut up. I know that Tsar Nicholas II, his cousin was King George in England, so they wanted him to go to England, but then the Romanovs never went to England or whatever. And I also know they're connected to England because Prince Philip is actually a distant relative, so when they were exhuming the graves to try to prove if it was the Romanovs and doing DNA testings and things like that. By graves, I mean that hole in Siberia, their bodies were dumped. But when they were trying to do the DNA testing and that, they actually cross-referenced with Prince Philip.
Huh.
Cool. But no France connection that you know of.
Not that I know of. So I do think they just picked Paris because it's beautiful.
I guess you could animate anything to be beautiful.
No, but I mean, it's romantic, it's beautiful. They're falling in love in Paris. I think that was the reasoning.
Yeah, it's good reasoning. Worked on me.
Great song.
Fantastic song. Although it also is basically a commercial for Paris. It's like, look, the Moulin Rouge, look, can-can dancers, and a bunch of weird celebrity animated
Yeah,
cameos.
Sigmund Freud is there. I think Marcel Duchamp is there. There's a bunch of people.
Paris in the 20s was it. Like, that is why. Like, everyone was there.
It is great, though. I would love to go party with Sophie. She takes them everywhere. They go to, like, the top of the Arc de Triomphe and party. I'm pretty sure you cannot do that.
That's one of my notes. Like, can you do that?
You can go to the top of it, but I don't know if they can have parties there.
Okay, well, that's more than I thought, so that works.
It's not open like that, is it? Where you can just fall off the edge if you choose?
No, I'm pretty sure there's, like, a thing. But I didn't actually go to the top of it. You know, you could, but I had done something else in Paris that day where I climbed like 55 stairs. So when I got to it, I was like, I'm not climbing any more stairs.
Well, that's good enough for me. That checks out. True story. Okay.
I need someone to tell me why they would take an elevator up the Eiffel Tower, but ride on the top of the elevator instead of inside it.
I do not know.
Thank you.
To be cool and wild and rebellious.
He almost falls off. It's like a whole joke where she's like, oops, I almost fell 27 stories to my death. Ha ha ha. Romance. But all right, whatever. It's a movie, animated movie. So I am accepting these things, but it is propaganda for the France Tourist Board because it looks great. I want to go there.
Worked on me.
I just had a moment where I was like, oh, and the Eiffel Tower would have been pretty new for them. So that's like a big deal that they went up it.
Yeah.
When was it built?
Like 1880
kind of? Like
like late 1880s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I was thinking, like, those elevators are rickety as hell, but I'm like, oh no, for them, that's like top of the line. Have you ever seen an elevator before?
Ooh la la. Maybe that's why they're on top of it. They don't know how an elevator works.
Yeah,
They're confused. They're very confused.
Like, we get on top, yes? And they're like, no, inside. Anyway, love it. Paris is great. More folly and love stuff. But it's all tinged because Dimitri knows she's the real Anastasia, and he knows that their time together is limited.
Yep.
Is it? Like, this is just, again, is it? Because he's like, princesses don't marry kitchen boys. And I'm like, once again, she is no longer a princess. Like, I don't know if you guys know how this works, but the line of succession is done. Like, she's just not a rich person.
But she's of, like, royal blood. She'd still be a hoity-toity, and she's, like, up in all these social circles, and clearly they still got the cash. Like, she is royal, even though she's not a princess.
Yes, so. Like, she's of the aristocracy, but, like, again, like, you have been ousted from your country. You are just a regular person now. I'm sorry.
So he could have just said, Richies don't marry Puris.
Yeah, he could have said, like, oh, maybe, like, her grandmother won't approve of a poor boy like me, or something like that.
Well, he obviously has issues, right? He has some serious classist, like, oh, I'm not worthy issues.
I was very surprised that he backed off. That was whenever he realized that it was her, he backed off. That's not a common trait in men in movies.
Yeah, that's very true.
Men in movies or in life.
I kind of got the impression this time, trying to have more of an adult view on it, that he's taking the easy way out. He doesn't really want to make connections, and he doesn't really believe in the stability of a relationship or a home life. So he's just like, well, guess my feelings don't matter. Time to be a martyr. Boopity boop boop. It's kind of the easy choice, given his history.
No, I can see that. I was thinking, I guess kind of along the same lines, where he was like, well, I'm just going to not want to deal with potential rejection from her, so I'm going to automatically reject the situation myself and walk away. My issue, again, like I said, is just I don't think that she would necessarily reject him outright just because it turns out that she is a rich lady. Because, I mean, the whole revolution that you lived through, Dimitri, was because the rich are no better and, like, don't deserve any special powers. So, like, why are you still believing in it? Like, no wonder you tried to fight the Bolsheviks. You were team monarchy all the way.
That's it, right? He grew up for 10 years, like, believing that they were better than him.
Yeah.
So maybe that didn't leave. He's still ingrained in his little child brain.
Yeah, I guess.
He sucks. Even though he's
hot. Some issues, okay? He also, like, witnessed a very, like, brutal slaughter of the royal family. And probably his own family.
Yeah, and has lived, like, hard, cold-ass, no food, no work life for 10 more years.
Although maybe not, because, as we said, he was in the palace with warm blankets, so...
Very good point. That is insane. Maybe he's the rich. Eat Dimitri!
Yeah.
I just need to take a second to talk about the importance of Bernadette Peters and Angela Lansbury being in a movie together.
Oh boy.
Should we
Here we
just
go.
mute ourselves and let you monologue about Bernadette?
No, I'm not going to say much. I just love it. I'm wearing my Bernadette Peters Hello Dolly t-shirt today. Just had to show my support, my one true love, Bernadette Peters. Sorry, I couldn't let the big scene go by without even bringing it up. So.
I just have to ask a really insensitive potential question. Is Bernadette Peters still alive?
Yes.
Okay. Because we should maybe find a way for Austin to meet her. Because this,
I have
you
met her.
really love her. I mean, meet her again so that I
Okay.
can point and laugh.
Jen, I'll send you the picture of when I met her for you to post on Instagram. I have the craziest of eyes.
I think you've shown me it before, and I was like, yeah, you are excited.
I was so happy. I was in
I've
tears.
seen it
the
too,
whole-
but I want to see it again.
Yeah, we can share that with the world.
So Bernadette Peters is Sophie, correct?
Yes.
Does she even sing in this movie?
Yeah, she sings Paris holds the key to your heart.
Wow, Jen, where
God.
were you
Me
during
not
that rousing
knowing.
musical number? It's,
That was her.
yeah, she does a great job. Although, again, it's the animation. I don't understand why every character who's not Dimitri and Anastasia is like really large or has a weird giant feature, that huge chin or nose or something. Like they're all like so, I want to say caricature, but I mean they're cartoons, so they are by definition a caricature. But it's,
No, but I know what you mean, because it's
A
like
lot.
weirdly realistic for some characters, and then just
Yeah, really like cartoony is the only way to
Yeah.
describe it.
yeah.
and then so they go to the ballet, and Dimitri tries to get the Dowager Empress to meet Anastasia, but she refuses, and he proceeds to kidnap her.
So easily.
Yeah.
P.S. How is it so easy to kidnap the Grand Empress of Russia?
Because again, that is no longer a real position.
Jen, you're too.
Lady.
She's still a Richie Rich. You think Prince Harry over there is not being harassed constantly? He doesn't have 27 bodyguards?
Yeah, how easy is it, do you think, to kidnap Prince Harry?
Yeah.
Okay,
Why don't you
first of
tell us
all-
about that, Jen?
Was
Educate
Prince
us.
Harry run out of his country when his family was executed? He's a different level of expert.
Jen's too focused on history.
I'm sorry.
I know, like, accuracy? Who are you?
I don't know, but it's just like, I don't know.
I found it so funny that she didn't have one other person with her. She's like, I'm going to walk to my car alone. My driver is just going to really casually stroll around the perimeter of the car.
Yeah.
And he just pops, like, why were the keys in the ignition?
Yeah.
How was this so easy?
Also,
I mean-
like, doesn't she live with Sophie? Do they not carpool? Are they too rich to share a car?
Well, Sophie, you're totally right. Sophie didn't go with like Dimitri and Anya and Vlad. She just was there. So where did she go? The Empress like ditched her because she was so annoying. She's like, you tried to make me meet another Anastasia when I said I wouldn't. So guess what? You're walking. I'm kind of into that.
version, yeah.
I just want to say I love Anastasia's dress. I know it's animated to be beautiful, but like that was my dream dress when I was a kid. I'm like, that's it. Sparkles. Give me those sparkles, girl.
Yes, it's gorgeous. So she finally like agrees to briefly meet this woman.
Well, we have to say that Dimitri and Anya have that fight because she finally
Yes.
realizes that Dimitri was trying to scam.
Right, sorry. Major plot
just that-
point.
Yeah, she doesn't know that he knows that she's really Anastasia.
Right.
Like he's all of a sudden in the middle of the movie, his motivations have changed from getting the money to actually reuniting them. But because he started under the pretense of getting the money, it's hard to believe that he has altruistic motivation. So she doesn't believe him that he's trying to do the right thing. She thinks he's just about the cash. Slaps him hard. Whew, right in the
Yeah.
face.
She's
Storms
spicy.
out. Yeah, she's got a good one.
She finds that out by like overhearing him talking to the grandmother, where he does a really bad job explaining that she's actually Anastasia. Like, I just feel like it's one of those things in movies where there's not enough communication between people, because he's like, walks in and she's like, I'm not meeting any, and you're that guy who was auditioning actresses. You're trying to scam me. And then he was like, I worked in the palace. And she's like, no, get out of here. And I'm like, maybe you could have said, like, she is your granddaughter. I helped you escape with her. She knows that.
I think it's
Talk
just
to
that
her.
that actually delegitimizes Anastasia's claim, because then he could have fed her that information, right? So he had to
True.
be, He had to find a way. He doesn't do it well. You're right. He fucks it up pretty royal.
It is weird that Sophie didn't pick up on that, though, because I would imagine it's like in a crime where they like hold back a piece of information that only the killer would know. Like, that's a good piece of information to hold back that only the real Anastasia would know, because it was something that her and her grandmother lived through together. And so, like, it would have been interesting maybe if Sophie had picked that up when they were talking, but she was too focused on shopping and stuff.
But also, I wondered at that same point, like, did Sophie even know that? Because she didn't have a reaction. Like, when Anastasia's saying, a boy opened the wall and I escaped, like, Dimitri's the one who reacts and Sophie doesn't. So I'm like, does Sophie even know that's how they escaped? Because... Well,
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's kind of weird, like, that the grandmother never told her that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's actually a very good point. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
and then also, if she doesn't know that, why does she ask that question? Like, what is she looking for?
Exactly.
Yeah, at that point, maybe she's bought in completely and she does think she's Anastasia. So she's like, legitimately, tell me, how did you escape? I'm curious. It wasn't a test. It was like a real, like, I believe it now.
It's interesting.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Sophie.
Yeah, Sophie's not a really good gatekeeper, let's just say. The first woman she lets in, I was like, please.
So when the grandmother and Anastasia have their reunion, she comes in to talk to her briefly, and then Anastasia comments on the fact that she smells like peppermint, and it like triggers more childhood memories, and that's when the grandmother realizes that, oh my god, this is Anastasia. I cried like a little baby.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, I didn't expect to, but I did.
Do you mean like yesterday when you watched this, or like the first time as a child?
I mean, like yesterday when I watched this.
I think I teared up. I think I had a little moment where I was just like, this poor old lady, I thought her entire family was dead. Like, I feel more emotion for the Dowager Richie tyrant than I do for anyone else. I'm like, she's so old and so lonely, and this is very sweet.
Yeah.
Jen, don't shake your head. You can't say it's not sweet. Oldies being happy is sweet.
I'm sure. I did not have the same reaction to that as you. I was more wondering how Anastasia's amnesia was just cured, and she suddenly had all these memories of her childhood come flooding back at once. Sure, that's how that works.
She doesn't really react to the fact that she's having all these memories come back. Like, she's just like, oh yeah, this happened, and I felt like this, and then this happened, and you did this, and my father did this, and she's not like emotionally reacting to this like very traumatic event coming back.
Yeah, she's like,
you would break down.
It was you, and you went to Paris, and now we're in Paris. Yay! And I'm like, you just remembered 8 years of life, your family, your history, the fact that you were the princess, the fact that, like, you were ripped away from this tragically and grew up in an orphanage. Nothing. She's just like, oh yeah, good to see you again, Granny.
Yeah, that was cool. Maybe we're gonna just give her, like, a minute. Maybe she's in shock, and, like, later on she's like, oh, right. Realizing this makes me realize they're all dead. Everyone I ever loved is dead.
Yeah,
She deals with it later.
The trauma hits her during the course of this movie, because then also she does, like, run away and get married and fall in love and all that stuff. So I think maybe it's like a year or so after the fact where she's just like, oh, hey, do you remember my entire family was murdered? And he's like, yeah, I was there.
In like a year, she's like a hard alcoholic, and it's getting real dark. Oof. Kids movies. I was gonna say something.
So I have another problem after this, which is when the Grand Duchess realizes that she really is Anastasia and throws some sort of coming out ball to announce that the princess has been found. And I'm like, what is this event?
Obviously there's been specifically. I honestly thought it was just like an event, and then it was going to be like, and Anastasia's here, because she doesn't end up coming out at all.
But there had already been, like, a newspaper that you see or whatever that says, like, missing princess found. So maybe I just
see what I want to see in movies.
Yeah, it's already news that Anastasia exists, and they're having this party presumably for her, and that's why she's at the back behind curtains.
Right?
Grand appearance, and then her grandmother is like, I just got you back, but it's totally cool if you bail. And I'm like, why did you throw this party in the first place?
I think that's why I thought it maybe wasn't a party specifically for that. Maybe they were like having a shindig, and then they're like, we'll just tie this in, you guys are going to be here already.
It essentially is possible that it was already planned, and then it just happened to coincide.
Yeah.
But I think it's not that big of a stretch, because it has been news all over Europe for the past 10 years that they're looking for Anastasia and she's missing and all this stuff. So it would be huge news, and like they would have an event to reintroduce her to the world. They did throw it together quickly. That's true. So you're right. Maybe it was like the Dowager Empress's birthday too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also she's like, but it's cool if you just aren't here and I don't see you for a while, even though we literally were just reunited. Bye.
Well, I got the impression that it's like, yeah, it's cool if you want to go live your life and not be in the spotlight like we always are. And like, I kind of assume they just see each other like next week. It's not like they're going to spend a lot of time apart. She's like, I'll just see you later. I'll drop by in a couple days and we'll have coffee or something.
I'm just not going to be a princess.
Yeah. I'm just not going to be revealed to the world.
First of all, you wouldn't be a princess because again,
Jenn!
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You would just be a rich lady. Anyway, abolish the monarchy, whatever. So she's like
also she ends up as a rich lady either way. Can we like just be aware of that?
Yes,
so
but I think it was implausible that they reunited, and it seemed like they planned this party immediately after, and then at that party the grandmother was like, but it's actually okay if you leave for an extended period of time. And
she's a great grandmother.
I thought that was really cool of her.
Me too.
No, I'd be like, what? Where are you going? We just re-met. Who is this man that you're running off with? Like, I don't know.
To be fair, she also knows that Dimitri is the boy from before, so she also knows that she owes her life to this man.
True. So that's
and he's a good dude because he doesn't take the money, which no one would ever do.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I do agree with that. He should have still taken the money, especially because he also saved her fucking life. Like, I
hate that movie trope.
Reward.
It would never happen this way. People will never turn down money, especially when they've really actually earned it.
Yeah.
He did reunite them. Like, he didn't.
If anyone deserves reward money.
Thanks. Yeah. Maybe he didn't start with honorable intentions, but he still completed the job that you promised the money for. So.
No, Dimitri is still playing the long con. He's like, I'm turning down the money to get grandma on my side, and then I marry into this family, and then all the money's mine.
You know, it worked. He's going to inherit a lot.
Yeah.
But I just hate that. Because no one would ever not take money. And it doesn't make you a bad person to not want to go back to the slums of Russia and die in a wet snowfield.
That's it too, like, him turning down the money, and they're just like, oh, that means he's a good and honorable man that you can now marry. And I'm like, there's a lot that makes up a person's personality, and just picking these two extreme moments of, like, he helped them escape and he didn't take the money 10 years later, like, he could have killed a guy. Like, you don't know what he did in between those two moments.
I mean, he probably did.
Also, we kind of just breezed right on past the climax of the movie, the showdown with Rasputin. Razzie P.
Yes,
Razzie
we
P.
got there. Yes. It is very dramatique and very strange. Very, very strange. Why are they on a bridge all of a sudden? How did they get to this bridge?
I don't know. Did he manifest into downtown Paris?
Yes.
So he can leave limbo and come.
As far as I could figure out, I don't know, he must have, like, gotten strong enough somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe the reliquary thing was getting more and more powerful because it wanted to go to kill Anastasia or whatever. Like, he seemed to ride it out of limbo just like Bartok wrote it in.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about this scene. Like, it's weird. I don't like it.
It's weird, but then you
Very
get
weird.
Dimitri to come back and be the hero and save the day or whatever.
Sort of. He saves her, but then she also saves herself.
Yes.
She saves the world, I guess. Or she saves...
I mean,
very luckily.
I mean, she kills Rasputin for realsies, I guess.
Yes, sorry. But I'm like, Rasputin's only goal was just to murder her. Like,
yeah, it's a net good. It's a net positive.
It's very strange, though, because, again, he has all these opportunities to just, like, stab her with something. But he's like, I'm going to make this horse statue come alive.
Yeah.
I'm going to very slowly crumble this bridge, but not fast enough to actually kill you. But it just ends up being really lucky, too. I don't really love when that happens. You defeat a villain by luck. Like, basically, he punches her, and she goes flying. And then the dog somehow gets his super magic reliquary, which, if that really was your only connection to being alive, I don't think you would just kind of let it hang off your belt.
Yeah.
But anyway, the dog gets it somehow, drops it, and it ends up rolling under her foot. She literally doesn't have to do anything except for stand there. Like, it's not really that much of an achievement to be standing in the right place randomly.
It just goes to show that you really don't need him as a villain in the movie, but
Yeah.
it's fun. Whatever. They win. They
Yeah.
are in love.
She crushes the reliquary. Rasputin melts in a very upsetting way. And yeah, then they elope, which I don't really also love. I'm like, why do they have to get married? Can't they just go on adventure?
Yeah.
Just live a little.
You're 18.
I mean, they kind of
20.
did just kind of go on a really big adventure. Not that that's like...
She needs to stay in Paris and rest her feet. She walked across Europe.
I was just going to say, you've changed this for me, Jen, because now they've had maybe a year to get to know each other because they walked across Europe. So maybe they did build a relationship out of something.
But they only really started liking each other 10 minutes ago. You know what I mean? Like, being honest about it. Like, they still had crushes on each other, but they weren't honest with each other until earlier that day.
Yeah, but they were falling in love in the montage of them traveling. So, like, there was something there.
I will allow that as a relationship. I think that maybe I'm stuck on she's not reconnecting with her grandma. Like, stay home for a while before you run off.
Yeah.
It is a little strange. Yeah, stay in Paris, chill with grandma.
I don't remember how it was worded, but I got the idea that she and Dimitri were going off to have adventures, aka leaving Paris.
Actually, she did say we'll be together again in Paris soon. So yeah, maybe that is implying, but I just kind of meant like it's their thing to be together in Paris. So it's not necessarily super literal. It's just we'll be together soon. And to me, it could be like tomorrow.
I guess.
We'll have brunch. It's going to be great.
But then that's a dramatic end off of a note if you're going to go for brunch tomorrow. To be like,
maybe she's a drama queen.
But that's the end of the movie.
That's it, man. Yeah, they get married, which is dumb, but movies, you know. She fulfilled her true life's purpose, which is to land a man. Yeah. Congratulations. Disney movies have tortured us and ruined our brains.
Should we do some high points and low points? I didn't even think about this.
Oh, right.
No. I got some.
Okay,
go.
My high point
is not the stupid St. Petersburg song. I don't know what to say to you because it's all you've been singing for months. Anyway, sorry for interrupting.
I was going to say my high point was related to that because my high point was I sang to every song very loudly, probably irritated my neighbors, but I know all the words still, and they're all super catchy. I love singing the soundtrack. It's so dumb because I am an elderly woman, but I got into it and I really enjoyed it. So
yeah.
The music and singing to the songs is my favorite part. And my low point is Rasputin being gross. Every part where he's being nasty and like ripping his body apart and skin and sinew, and I just don't like it. It's not my style. I was just like, it's not necessary. I don't think kids would enjoy it. I don't.
This kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you are creepy. Anyway, I'm picking it apart, but I just didn't like the gross aspects. But that's just me.
That's fair. Jen, do you want to go?
I liked the voice cast. A lot of good actors were in it.
Yeah, man.
I thought it was funny that John Cusack's speaking voice was nothing like the singing voice for Dimitri.
Not even close, hey?
Like, they didn't even try to match that. So that was kind of funny. But, like, yeah, I guess that could be my high point. And then my low point, I guess, is even though I did appreciate Zombie Rasputin, Zombie Razzie P, I didn't really feel him as a villain. I don't think it was well done. I don't really think it made a lot of sense what he was doing or why. So I just think the movie didn't really need it. So if they were going to go that road, like, they could have done more with him. Like, he's gone for half the movie. He barely tried to kill her. Like, it didn't work for me. Although, unlike Jackie, the sinewy body part falling off stuff was fun. A blast.
I'm shocked that wasn't your high point.
Maybe it should be. But then how can my high and low point still both be Razzie P?
It's complicated. It's a complicated relationship with Razzie P.
Yeah.
I'm on a similar page to both of you, actually. I think my high point is the music. I love the songs. I think it's so good. Journey to the Past has been stuck in my head for days now. I'm not complaining. It's just...
Have you heard?
Is there a rumor in St. Petersburg?
There's a rumor.
Okay. We're done.
Yeah.
I think that and Bernadette Peters. This is the first of at least 3 Bernadette Peters movies that are going to be on this podcast. So buckle up. Yeah, my low point, I was going to say Razzie P, but I think specifically Bartok. I like him in theory that he's like the funny sidekick, but he's useless. And I got kind of like, I don't know, it just went on a little long, some of his jokes. Like, I see what you do, and maybe it's more appealing for kids. I think that he's my low point, as well as some of those really weird, jarring animations that we talked about earlier. Do you have some quotes, Jackie?
I only have a few. And I kind of agree with you. I didn't love a lot of Bartok's quotes, even though he's supposed to be like the quotable one. He's the comedic relief, but it's not funny. There's only one line I put of Bartok, which is because Razzie P's like, "Oh, I look terrible," and he's like, "Actually, considering how long you've been dead, you look pretty good." And I thought that was funny. Anya has a very classic plucky heroine line where she goes, "Do you really think I'm royalty?" And he goes, "You know I do." And she goes, "Then stop bossing me around." Well done. And then I think it's funny, she hands him dynamite so they can blow apart the train. And he's like, "What do they teach you in those orphanages?" And that's it. That's all I got. Not a lot, but... I
have a couple little ones.
Good, yay.
When they're describing, or when they're explaining to Anya that they gotta go talk to Sophie and who Sophie is, I think they're describing Sophie. And she says, "Is this a person or a cream puff?"
Yeah.
Which made me chuckle. And then when he hands her the dress... I guess she's also a tailor, because when he hands her the dress, it's like enormous and it looks like a tent. So she's like looking inside of it and he's like, "What are you looking for?" And she goes, "The Russian circus. I think it's still in here."
She puts a belt on and that just fixes it. It's like
okay. That like tightens the sleeves and the shoulders and everything. Yeah.
Changes the whole makeup of the dress.
I think that's all I got.
It's not exactly a quotable movie. I'll just say that.
Yeah, like there's like cute dialogue, but it's not.
But the dialogue only really works in the interplay between the characters, so it's not like you can really pick out little quotes.
Totally. So I have a little bit of trivia here. I'll start with the budget was an estimated $50 million. Worldwide gross was $139.8 million. And then the marketing costs were over $50 million. They, in like sponsorships with Burger King, Hershey, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, they exceeded the marketing costs of another Fox distributed film, a little movie called Independence Day, by 35%.
Holy shit. So they didn't even make that much profit. They still, like, technically they only made like $39 million, which is, whatever, but they blew more than their entire profit margin on
marketing. Yeah. Huge marketing push on this.
I mean, I guess it worked, right? They considered this to be successful.
Yeah. I think another reason was because of the fierce competition with Disney. And Disney shot back in a lot of ways. Any of the corporate sponsors that Anastasia had worked with, Disney banned from putting any of their ads during the Wonderful World of Disney on ABC. So, like, Disney was also like, no. It was the first non-Disney and non-Pixar animated movie to be nominated for an Academy Award. And it, like I said before, it received more nominations than that year's Disney movie, which was Hercules. So there's that scene when she's reuniting with her grandma where she's like looking at old, like a picture that she had drawn when she was a kid, I guess. And she says that her sister Olga said that the drawing looked like a pig riding a donkey. Apparently this is a real drawing that Anastasia drew, and it's like reproduced, obviously, for the movie. And Olga really did say that. It was like in letters that they found this.
Oh,
that's kind of cute.
That's nice.
Right? Meg Ryan was convinced to do the movie after the studio sent her an animated clip of her talking in Sleepless in Seattle. She like didn't want to do it. And they were like, well, let us show you what we can do, and animated something for her.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Also about Meg Ryan. So the singing voice for Anastasia is Liz Callaway, who is a Broadway person. She's done a handful of films as well, like voice acting. You may recognize her from Beauty and the Beast as a dancing napkin ring. But she did a bunch of voices in Disney movies. And so she did the singing voice for Anastasia. And apparently at the premiere or something, she went up to Meg Ryan and introduced herself and was like, "Oh, I did the singing voice for you." And Meg Ryan goes, "Oh, really? I told everyone I did the singing." So.
Oh, no, that's awful. She stole her credit? Meg Ryan, I thought you were America's sweetheart, you bitch.
Right? But Liz Callaway is awesome. I went down a bit of a rabbit hole today with her. She still sings Journey to the Past at all her concerts and stuff. It's like on her albums. So that was fun, I thought. The Broadway show opened on March 23rd, 2017. Closed March 31st, 2019 after 808 performances. Jackie, it only kept a handful of songs. It only kept like 6 songs from the movie. and then a bunch of new original material.
Are there more than 6
Uh,
songs?
I
And it
was
had-
gonna say, how many songs are there in the movie?
Not a ton. So I guess it's not that bad, really. I
So,
guess
like-
well, they cut Rasputin, so they had to cut in the Dark of the Night, which is very sad.
One of my favorites.
I know. That's all I got.
Honestly, that's awful. In the Dark of the Night is one of the best. So everyone download it. Sing along with me.
Jen, what else came out this year?
Yeah, so this was interesting because this kind of gets into why we started doing the movies of the year in the first place, was because I genuinely was not watching this in 97. So what was I watching? And then I was kind of getting into it, and I'm like, there were so many great fucking movies this year that I loved, and I just wasn't into, like, animated films anymore. So I think that is why I missed Anastasia, because I was too busy watching this incredible lineup. Jackie will appreciate some of these. We
I'm ready.
have I Know What You Did Last Summer, Anaconda,
Classic.
Face Off,
Yes, amazing.
Con Air,
Yes, amazing.
The Fifth Element,
Amazing.
The Lost World, Jurassic Park, and then, of course, Titanic came out that year. Also, Men in Black. I was like, I'm into this year. This was a good year for Jenn. And then, kind of similarly, I was like, well, did I stop watching, like, Disney movies and animated movies of this time? And I really did. So, like, the era of animation that this is in, Hercules came out the same year, which you mentioned. Also, around this time was, like, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Prince of Egypt, Iron Giant, Mulan, Atlantis, Emperor's New Groove. Terrible run.
Emperor's New Groove is
Yeah, wait a
amazing.
Okay, I've never seen it.
You need to watch it. It's so good.
But just like the Disney Renaissance had clearly ended, and the
Yeah.
late 90s, early 2000s was not good for anyone.
Yeah, I think the Disney Renaissance ends with Hercules. I think that's what's considered kind of, or no, with Tarzan. Tarzan's the end of it. So
Tarzan, I wouldn't
Yeah.
even put that. Disney Renaissance is like done after Lion King.
yeah.
Maybe Pocahontas.
I don't know the chronology well enough to make a statement.
In 1997, 10-year-old Jenn was over animated films, was not watching Anastasia, was instead
Oh,
watching
cool.
Face Off.
Yes, girl. Okay, I approve of this message.
Ratings?
Ratings. Yeah, that's all
Ratings.
that's left. Who's going
Ratings.
Jen, why don't you go first? We'll
I
Yeah, lay it on us.
All right, what's first? Enjoyment? Like, I mean, I didn't dislike the film, like I said. I wasn't like, oh, this sucks, this is stupid. But I didn't really love it. Like, it was kind of just there. So I guess enjoyment, maybe like a 4 or a 5. Like, I can recognize some of the animation was good, some of it super wasn't. Some of the, like, movie was entertaining, some of it kind of dragged. Like, it just didn't really land for me. So I'll give it like a 4. And then quality, I don't know. Like, it was fine. 5.
I'll take it because I was very afraid that you were going to hate this movie. And I was like, I genuinely can't think of anything in this that's going to make her, like, rage. I can't see her hating this movie. So I was really, I was playing the odds.
Oh, I forgot. I should have said that my high point and my enjoyment is after the fact, getting to read about the Russian Revolution again. That was what I enjoyed.
So my ratings are high, clearly. I'm giving this one an 8.
Okay.
Because I love the singing. I love the quest aspect. And I love, hot cartoon boy and, no flaws at all. Like the perfect man. Love to see it. Love most of that part of the movie, but I did find all the Rasputin stuff really kind of boring this time, and just I didn't qualify it as unnecessary until you said it, but yeah, it would have been a different movie, and I would have been maybe more engaged even as a kid if they just didn't have any of that. If it was just their adventure across the country and getting to the grandma and sorting that out, I might have enjoyed it more. So I'm giving that an 8. And then for quality, I'm giving it an 8 too, because the songs are great quality. I think the acting, I don't know, voice acting is a whole different challenge, but I think they did a good job.
Yeah, I'm going to go with my gut, which was to rate it high, because honestly, just my enjoyment when I was watching it, I was having a great time. I laughed, I cried, I sang. It was, I have to go with my gut on that. So I'm going to give it a 9 for enjoyment. I think, there's parts of it that I could do without. I do think Rasputin, Bartok bring it down for me. Although In the Dark of the Night is such a good song that it kind of it balances out. So I'm gonna say 9. And then quality, yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8. I think it's cool that they were up against Disney and they kind of came out on top on this for this round. I also think it's cool that Anastasia is kind of a Disney princess now, so that's fun. And yeah, I just think it was a good movie. I don't know. Music is fantastic. Yeah, so 8 for that. And I'm good on the friendometer. I don't know about you guys.
Green, super green.
Yeah, agreed. No issues.
Excellent.
I was trying to think of something I could bring up to fight with you about, but I really can't even think of anything. We didn't fight at all this episode.
No, we're good.
No,
Weird.
we're on good terms for once.
So
Feels
Jen,
wrong.
what are we watching next week? Is it? Yeah, it is Jen. Sorry.
Yeah, it is my pick, and we are heading into December soon. So we're starting the first of our Christmas month. We are watching Black Christmas, one of my all-time favorite films. Not even just horror movies, one of my all-time favorite movies. It's so good. It is a iconic Canadian classic, so enjoy.
Cool. So that wraps us up for Anastasia. Next week we're starting the Christmas season off with Black Christmas. It's going to be great. You can follow us on Twitter at I Hate Your Taste or on Instagram at Hate Your Taste Pod. We also have a website. It's I Hate Your Taste in Movies.wordpress.com. There's a link there to our merch as well. And if you like what we're doing, please, please, please leave us a review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. It really, really helps. Gotta work with that algorithm and all that fun stuff. So thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye.